Hey everybody, it's Matt from endsickness.org. Today I'm going to be talking about the best supplements for chronic Lyme disease. Okay. Initially I'm going to go over the herbs that outperform the meds, outperform doxycycline, other pharmaceuticals. We're going to go over some of the studies. Then I'm going to talk about how all these herbs or medications that you're using must be mast cell modulators to remove chronic Lyme disease, because chronic Lyme disease aggravates mast cells. It creates this overreactive immune response, and unless you get rid of the things that are triggering that overactive immune response, you will have a lot of issues. I'm going to discuss that. I'm going to go over Japanese knotweed, Cryptolepis sanguinolenta, Artemisinin, Baicalin, Chinese skullcap, Bovine colostrum for secondary infections. Talk about how you got to take one at a time. You don't want to take all these at once. Talk about rotation, how you want to rotate these effectively for the best success. Talk about hidden irritants also, because if you don't remove the hidden irritants and you keep taking all these things, you're not going to have as much success as you'd like with Lyme disease. So initially, let's start off with the first topic, herbs outperforming medications. So there were studies that showed that a few of these herbs on here, 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, the first 4, outperformed doxycycline and the other antibiotics that are typically used for Lyme disease. Okay? The reason this is huge is because antibiotics are detrimental to the immune system. They're harmful to the stomach. They can cause a lot of other issues when you use them. You want to be able to use things that aren't as toxic to the body, that don't kill the good bacteria, that keep the immune system calm, etc. So this is absolutely critical. When I came across these studies that showed that these herbs outperformed the medications, it was very eye-opening to me, right? This is the most important part of the whole video, okay? If you're going to be targeting chronic Lyme disease, you have to understand that you have a dysfunctional immune response already, okay? The mast cells are typically overactive. Typically people who have chronic Lyme are reacting to different foods, reacting to environmental irritants, reacting to synthetic irritants, reacting to various things that people would not be reacting to. And it's because the mast cells are typically highly overactivated when you have chronic Lyme. For that reason, you must use mast cell modulators only to remove chronic Lyme. Okay? If you take things that do not calm the immune system down at the same time, you will have a very uncomfortable detoxification effect, because the immune system will be aggravated while the toxins are being removed, and that will be a very uncomfortable process. If your immune system is calm while the toxins are being removed, it'll be far less uncomfortable, and you will be far higher chance of success, for sure. So mast cell modulators are critical, otherwise you irritate the immune system while you're trying to get rid of the infection, and that ends up making the infection stronger. Good luck, right? So number 1, Japanese knotweed root has been shown to be effective against both live and dormant and persister forms of Lyme. Japanese knotweed root is probably my favorite on this list. I've used it a lot for Lyme and other conditions. It is a mast cell modulator. It's not hard on the liver. It crosses the brain-blood barrier. It opens up the capillaries and dilates the vessels, so it can travel into all the places that Lyme likes to travel. So Japanese knotweed root is probably one of my favorites, right? Cryptolepis sanguinolenta, that's another one that's been shown in studies to be effective against Lyme disease in various forms of Lyme, various types of Lyme disease, you know, Borrelia, the other ones, etc. Cryptolepis sanguinolenta is the only one that, quote-unquote, technically was able to eradicate the infection completely within, I think it was 10 days, which is pretty amazing. And that was all the different forms of Lyme. So that one is probably on the top of the list, but it's not as good of a mast cell modulator as Japanese knotweed. It doesn't travel as deeply in the body as Japanese knotweed, but it's also a really good second bet. So Cryptolepis sanguinolenta is the second one I'd talk about. And next one is Artemisinin, and that is one that you typically want to combine with other things, like can take the Artemisinin with the Japanese knotweed, or the Artemisinin combined with the Cryptolepis. It's shown to be effective against Lyme on its own, but it's a great product to combine with other products whenever you have a resistant or a more difficult infection. Baicalin is helpful for neurological inflammation. It's also part of Chinese skullcap. Both of these things, specifically Chinese skullcap, was shown to be effective against Lyme as well. Baicalin is really good for calming down the neurological state if you have neurological dysfunction due to the Lyme. In my experience, it's a good product overall for mast cell modulation, for mood, for energy. It helps with dopamine levels, helps with your gut bacteria, the list goes on. Bovine colostrum is not specific to Lyme disease, but is great for secondary infections. And a lot of the time when people have Lyme disease, they have these secondary infections that exist, these opportunistic infections. They have bacterial infections, fungal infections. They have other types of issues that have arisen, parasitic infections. So bovine colostrum is great for eliminating the secondary or opportunistic infections, which is really the first step. In my opinion, you're not going to get rid of chronic Lyme disease if that's the root cause. You're not going to get rid of it until you address a lot of the secondary infections it has caused and remove the irritants that are, as I'll mention here. So you don't want to take all these supplements at once, okay? You end up with a severe detox effect, you end up sicker than where you started. It's not a good idea. You want to take one at a time, in my experience, right? And you want to go through each one, see what type of benefits it's producing, what dose is producing the benefits. And you want to make sure you rotate these things. You don't want to take Japanese knotweed for 3 weeks straight. You know, it's not good for the body to do that. If anything, you want to do a day on, a day off, 2 days on, a day off, you know, a max of 3 days on, then 2 days off. You know, you don't want to go any further than that. You always want to make sure you're taking time off because your body is going to get aggravated by the removal of these toxins, of these dead material, the Lyme, the dead material, these organisms you're clearing. And you can't aggravate the immune response, otherwise you set yourself back because the immune system is what's keeping the rest of the infections in control. So you have to make sure you're not aggravating the immune response when you're going through this process. Hidden irritants, this is absolutely critical, probably the most important part. If you don't remove the irritants in your diet, the irritants in your environment, the irritants in your supplements, okay, or your pharmaceuticals, you will end up crossing wires per se. You'll end up taking one medication, or take Japanese knotweed, for example, to kill the Lyme, and then you eat something that triggers an immune reaction. You keep following that cycle, you're not going to be able to get rid of the chronic Lyme, okay? The best way to get rid of hidden irritants is through an observation-based diet. There's another video where I address the observation-based diet on my YouTube channel. That is having a dietary log, going through each food, each meal you're eating, seeing what's causing what symptoms, connecting the dots in between what you're eating and what you're taking and what you're exposing yourself to and where the symptoms are getting worse. You have to be able to go through that process of eliminating your current irritants, otherwise you're not going to be able to get over the chronic Lyme no matter how much of this stuff that you take. Because when you get irritated, the immune system will become overactive, which will make the Lyme grow, okay? When your immune system is overactive, the Lyme is told, hey, replicate, it's okay. So summary of key points, herbs can outperform medications, okay? Mast cell modulators are the only way to get out of the situation. If you're going to take any herbs, any nutrients, etc., in my opinion, they have to be mast cell modulators. Otherwise, they trip the overactive immune response that's already going on and make things worse with your immune system. You don't have to just remove the Lyme to feel better. You have to recondition your immune response to feel better. It's just not as simple as getting rid of Lyme and everything goes away, right? Japanese knotweed root, excellent. Travels real deep in the body. Great results in study. Cryptolepis sanguinolenta, probably the strongest anti-Lyme, but not as good of a mast cell modulator as Japanese knotweed. Artemisinin, great product to combine with either one of those. Baicalin, Chinese skullcap, excellent for the neurological symptoms that come along with chronic Lyme. Bovine colostrum, excellent for the secondary infections, which are critical to get rid of if you want to get over Lyme. And you take one at a time, and you must rotate these things, as I said. Each one of these may produce a certain level of relief, but if you take them all at once, it should be too much for the body. Hidden irritants must be removed if you want to get better. If you do not go through your food, your supplements, your pharmaceuticals, your environment, get rid of all the offending issues, you're going to have quite a tough time getting rid of an infection that's been there a long time. So hope this information has been helpful. Please keep in mind, this is for educational purposes only. This is not to be used as medical advice or misconstrued as medical advice. And this is based on my experiences I've had with my clients, and the scientific studies that I've come across as well. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me via my website, endsickness.org. You can always put your questions or comments on YouTube as well. And thanks for watching, everybody.